Ich want service now! Was ist this for a place? I love the sancocho and the mamawana, delissimo. Whenever I walk in the streets, they come up and they think I'm some kind of walking ATM, holding their hand out. What is that? Crikey, you really gotta love all them pretty Sheilas here. These Dominicans are starting to really piss me off. I just love everything about Dominicans. They're just so friendly. I just can't handle the noise in this damn joint. What's wrong with them? Full volume all the damn time. Let's get the check. Alright, all fun aside, let's now talk to some expats to find out what challenges they've had adjusting to the Dominican culture. So I'm here with Zoe from Micro Self Storage in the edge of Sosua, just as you're heading towards Cabaretta. Thanks for jumping on camera.
No problem.
Excellent to have you on camera. Now, for how long have you lived in Dominican Republic, Zoe?
I have lived here for 15 years now. I came here when I was 9.
Right, and when you kind of look at adjusting to the Dominican culture, well, young people adjust pretty well, but what would you say, both for you and for many other expats coming here, what are some of the major adjustments that one has to face?
Well, the big difference is, the school has been very different. The way people teach instead of in Europe is also very different. It's more of a, the curriculum is more based off the US, so you do have until 8th grade, and then you go into high school for the 4 years, so that I did have here. My first years I went to Dominican school, and then my last 2 years of my high school I did go to a English-based school in Playa Laguna called Isla Academy, which was much better than the school I was going to previously.
Mm-hmm.
So I did learn many more things there, and also the difference in the Dominican school is I saw the difference, especially in my math curriculum. There were many items that I was seeing, that I had seen here in like 7th or 8th grade, that I had already seen in Belgium in 3rd grade. So 4 years before that, and that stage I knew, okay, the schooling is very different here than it is compared to what I've been getting in Europe.
So being thrown into school at age 9, how was that?
Very difficult at first, because my parents tried to let me go into international school. They did not accept me because I did not speak English or Spanish. I didn't know a word. And the first few weeks were hard, being thrown into Dominican school, not knowing the language, not knowing anyone else, being the only person from not the only person from Belgium, but the only Flemish speaking person from Belgium. So I got picked on quite a bit at first and was kind of the loner for quite some months. But once kids pick on you, then you kind of learn the language very quickly.
Some even got violent with you.
Yeah, I had a couple of bruises and a blue eye once, so that did happen. I did get my lunch picked away from me as well a few times.
So that they could get so frustrated with the fact that you didn't speak Spanish.
I was mostly sitting by myself, and then the older kids would come and kind of open up my lunchbox and just take it all apart. And I didn't know how to defend myself in English or in Spanish, so I was like, what are you doing? And there were some tears the first few weeks, but you learn. That's how you learn. You gotta learn it the hard way.
Right, and the teachers, how well did they?
Well, the teachers, at first, they kind of understood. They were kind of pissed at me as well, and did call my parents to the principal office after like the first week or two, saying that I wasn't doing anything in class, that I would just kind of sit there. I wasn't doing my homework because I couldn't understand my homework. I didn't know what was happening, so teachers said, she's not keeping up her grades, she's not doing this, and I was like, my parents then would ask me, why are you not completing your schoolwork? And I'd say, well, I don't understand anything.
Yeah.
I don't know a word Spanish. So how do you expect me to know what this biology page is talking about? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So at first I did, my grades were terrible, except for in math. But my grades were terrible until at the end of the school year, I was fluent in English and Spanish, so I did get that very fast under.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
was tough, but you have to learn.
So stepping outside the whole school arena, you are a teenager that got into the nightlife with all the other, was it Dominicans? Were
Yeah.
your friends?
Yeah, I was.
And what happened there?
Well, I had a couple of girls in my classroom when I was like 14, 15, yeah, who were older than me. They were like 17, 18 already, and they had, stayed a couple of grades because they didn't pass their school year. And one of them her dad used to own a club called Bamboo back way then. And yeah, she would say, come on, every weekend we would go out. I would stay at her house and she would go out with her friends, so she couldn't leave me there, so she would take me with her. And yeah, back then the clubs didn't ask for ID, so there was me, 14, 15 years old, going crazy in the club, drinking away, not knowing what was happening, being thrown into that culture. I did a hangout in the barrios a few times and in the colmados, but yeah, now looking back at things, it's very different. And what I've heard from previous schoolmates from in Belgium as well is that I had it much different than they did, especially the nightlife. So here you grow up with, you know what Sosua is like. You see how many girls are around town and how many gentlemen come looking for their company. And yeah, I got catcalled a lot when I was a teenager because you don't expect a 14-year-old in there. But if I was 14, there were probably other girls in there as well, 14, 15, my age. So yeah, it's a very different culture than in Europe. And growing up with that, I'm used to that. But many people that I see that come here now, they're like, well, it's so different than Europe or than the US. And I'm like, well, yeah, for me, it's not different because I grew up here, so I'm used to seeing this. But for other people, it can be a bit
culture shock.
Yeah, a culture shock, because it's everywhere. Yeah. You see all of the prostitution and all of the craziness and just people drinking and going out, and you see it everywhere. So it's kind of hard to miss.
So you would say the young ladies here, they see it as easygoing, getting involved in the sexual arena as drinking or smoking or anything else?
Yeah, I didn't see many people like doing drugs or anything like that, and that time was more always alcohol that I would see around. I never got fed anything or popped any pills, so that I am lucky for it. And they didn't throw me in that way, but it is very different. And I myself have now I was in Europe for a year to get some health problems under control, and I met people and I spoke to people and I saw and I told them stories about my time here, and they were very shocked and very like, wow, is this really the way? And I'm like, yeah, it is the way, but I would still pick it over Europe. I'm not going back there.
Yeah, fair enough. Going into the nitty-gritty of the culture here again, what are some of the things that can really frustrate foreigners trying to adjust here? You mentioned off camera about the mañana thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, well, Dominicans being on time is very hard. You can't get them on time. In Europe, you're used to, okay, you have a meeting at 8 o'clock. You're there 5 minutes before 8 o'clock to be sure you're on time. Here, you say 8 o'clock and they arrive at 8:5 or sometimes at 8:30 or maybe even 9 sometimes. I mean, I've heard, I'm on my way, waiting for a delivery truck. Yeah, I'm in Sosua, I'll be there within 30 minutes. 3 or 4 hours later, they still haven't arrived. So, and a lot of things, they say, mañana. Leave it for tomorrow, but mañana always turns into mañana, and mañana then still turns into mañana. So you really got to be on them when you want to get something.
What's the hardest thing that you've had to adjust to, you think?
Well, it's, like I said, the culture is very different as well. The dating pool is very, very different. Trying to find someone serious has been an impossible task for me, which is why I am still single. So it's,
well, there you go, boys.
No, it's you see it everywhere. So for a person wanting to get into a serious relationship and knowing I've been cheated on many times, I had Dominican boyfriends and I got cheated on a lot by them almost daily. So I don't like that feeling and I don't want to go back to that feeling. So I have said that's why I'm kind of closing myself off for the moment as well and not really looking, because I know the culture and I know everything that happens. And yeah, social media has ruined it a lot, I feel like, as well, because you see it everywhere. On every post, on every... You see everything everywhere. So it's... Yeah. For people who really want something serious, it's hard to find people to network with.
Switching to the positive side, what would you say are some of the most beautiful cultural traits of the Dominican people?
Well, they're always very willing to help, I have found. Dominicans are very helpful people. They're very kind people. If you break down on the side of the road, someone will stop and help you. I've also never felt like when I've gone out on the beach or I go out at night, I've never felt threatened. I feel more safe walking here alone at night than I do in Europe, because I do see less violence in that way. Mm-hmm. So it's not like... Yeah, you can have some people trying to give you a gringo price, but instead of like, if you break down, I've had it that I broke down my car on the side of the road and immediately 2-3 people stopped and asked, do you need some help? Do you want me to call a mechanic, or do you need me to go take you here or there?
Exactly.
So there are very helpful people and they're very kind people. And I love that about them. They're always like, you walk into the bank and everyone says good morning. Like the little things that you don't see as much. Like they're always very willing to converse with people, and yeah, you can have the best time sitting outside in a colmado having a beer with anyone who comes by and having a good conversation. So they are very kind and very loyal people in that area sometimes, yeah.
And being a female, when you are a white European female in Dominican Republic, is there any situations, good or bad, that you can share there?
Well, yeah, I've been catcalled a lot. You know that there are a lot of sanky-pankies as well around trying to marry a beautiful white young lady, but I'm, at the moment, you gotta get used to that. You're gonna get hassled at the street a little bit. Yeah, people are gonna always ask you out, and yeah, you just gotta be very polite. And
so the fact that you speak fluent Spanish,
yes,
that helps a lot in those situations.
It does, yeah, because nobody ever expects me to speak the Spanish I do, because I am very fluent. My Spanish is better than my English. I learned it before English, so to me it comes easier sometimes. I am very Dominicanized on that part.
So what would be if some guy say, hey, baby, or whatever, what's the typical response that you would throw at him?
Que lo que, mi amor?
Que lo que, mi amor?
Yeah, it's like, and that's also something here. Like everyone always gives cute nicknames and stuff. At first I was getting kind of pissy with that, because you would hear it so much, like hola more, or hola mi amor, or que lo que rubia, or ven pa' acá, like these kind of things. And now I've grown to use it myself. So when I was working at my parents' bakery, I would salute everyone the same. Hola, buen día, amore, ¿cómo estás, mi amor? ¿Con que le ayudo? Like these type of things. So you get used to that very quickly. Like everyone speaks with a loving tone to each other.
So a lot of the little scams and tricks drop in the bucket quite quickly when they can hear that you can meet them at their level and speak the language.
It definitely is a big help, and I tell everyone I meet when they move to the Dominican Republic, learn the language as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. Because there are good people and there are bad people, but that's everywhere in the world, and you just have to navigate through who are the good ones and who are the bad ones.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and give yourself a shout out. It's microselfstorage.co.
Yes, microselfstorage.co.
And that's just on the edge of Sosua. So feel free to contact Zoe and the team if you want a storage unit from small, medium to large.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Great words.
Have a great day.
You too. Cheers. everyone. I'm with Alfredo from Taino Project. Thank you for jumping on camera.
Hello.
This is your first time, and I hope to see you a lot of times in the future. We're talking about adjusting to the Dominican culture, and we just off camera covered a few points. We'll start with the frustrating stuff, and then we'll get into the super positive stuff. But for you to adjust after, you've been here 11 years, so you mentioned off camera about Germans, since you're from that neck of Europe. Anyway, you're from Austria.
I'm from Austria, yeah.
But Austrians, Germans, you said sometimes they almost have heart attacks. They get frustrated. What's some situations that you can share that where they don't?
They don't
accept?
want to accept that you'll have another form of living here. They're thinking in their ways how they're living in Europe and how the living is functional in Europe. But this is not Europe. You have to adapt. You have to transform you.
So just back to the Europeans that you mentioned, what sort of reactions have you seen? Or do they cocoon themselves because they're not willing to adjust?
Some of them, they're crazy. I don't want to wait for that. Or I just want to pay now in the restaurant or stuff like that. Or that meal is not good for me. I don't want to eat that or something like that. No, you have to accept. That's the best form that keeps you healthy and that keeps you happy.
All right. Would you go as far as saying if they can't accept it, stay where you came from?
I think so. Because you have to learn from the people here. If you don't want to learn, that's not good for your health. That's not good for you. If you don't accept, you better you go.
Would these people have visited too little before they made the decision to actually move here? Wouldn't it have been better for them then to take a few more trips and maybe 3 months here and 3 months there, just to get a feel for, could I actually be happy here if I moved here?
Exactly. Can I accept the living here? Would I be happy here? So many people comes, the temperature, the girls, the beach, but the life is not only girls, beach. You have to accept the living here, and that's the secret. Many of these tourists, they're not happy. They keep living angry because they no accept the way of living here.
Mm-hmm. I've also met some Europeans that hasn't even after 15, 20 years of living here, they don't speak practically any Spanish.
Any Spanish.
How does that work?
They don't go out to know the people. They don't go out to talk with the people, to meet the living in with the people, to live with the people together. No, they don't accept the people from here. They don't want to learn from the people from here, and that would be a community, a visitor, but a visitor, not a people from here. It's a visitor who he don't know the living here.
Right. Great words. So thank you very much for jumping on camera, and give yourself a shout out. You run something called Taino Project.
Taino Proyecto, Alfredo.
Yeah. So this is habitation. This is rental, accommodation,
events, stuff like that.
Yeah. So we'll put it on the bottom of the screen here with your advert, and feel free to contact Alfredo if you are interested to know more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay.
Yeah, folks, I'm with Serge from Paradise Villa Bed and Breakfast in the Encuentro area. Thanks for jumping on camera, Serge.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm always here to help the people out.
Yep. Well, I have some questions for you. So, relating to culture, etc. You've been with a good lady for, was it 25 years, a Dominican lady?
Yeah, I've been married to her for 25 years. A fantastic woman. Very, very exceptional woman. Well, the major difference is their culture. their habits of eating different types of food, which is completely different at the time. For in here in La Republique Dominicana, they don't spray garbage on the fruits and the vegetables. So it is fantastic to eat them. Great. And believe me, Dominican women, they really know how to do great cooking.
Okay, so she got you on that one.
Oh yeah, believe me.
Any other major challenges in getting used to a Dominican lady compared to
No,
a foreign one?
the only difference, all women are complex, or whichever country you meet a woman. The only difference is that I had to learn Spanish, and the wife had to learn French. So now my wife speaks French, she speaks English, and she speaks Spanish.
Yeah, fantastic. In terms of French Canadians who you've got to know quite a lot, which is kind of where you spent most of your time, Quebec area, are they hard at adjusting to the culture down here, would you say, or how do you kind of see they integrate into society here?
Well, up to now, what I notice is that a good majority of them, they're very hard on their money. Canadian money is much lower than American money, but they're always trying to get everything for almost free. That's one of their biggest problems. They don't have a heart to give. They don't have the heart to communicate with the people, being generous. Like they say here in La Republique Dominicana, they're tacaño. Cheap. Which is not right if they want to live here and have a successful relation with the people.
The Dominicans. Interesting points there. So apart from that, you find a lot of advantages in living down here compared to overseas and being around the Dominicans?
Well, take a look around and you'll see by yourself.
Well, I'll just
right
shine
now-
up to the palm tree here.
Right
It's
now
beautiful.
we're in February, and I eat my breakfast in shorts out and a t-shirt outside near the pool. Are you going to do that in Canada right now?
I think they're
With
scraping
the nice
ice.
snowstorm?
Fair enough. Anyway, you keep enjoying yourself. Thanks, Serge. So if anyone wants to book in bed and breakfast in between Sosua Cabaretta near the ocean here, then contact Serge. The numbers are seen below in the screen. So that's Paradise Villa Bed and Breakfast. Thanks,
Thank
Serge.
you. It was a pleasure talking with you, sir.
Cheers. Folks, I'm here with Robert from Dominican Republic MLS, and you also run Gringo Car Rental near the airport of Puerto Plata, Cangrejo area. Yeah. So, Robert, how long you been in the Dominican Republic for?
Permanently, I moved here July 5th, 2022, so a little over 2.5 years, going on 3, and loving it.
Fantastic. And just to rip into the questions of the cultural differences, etc., do you have a Dominican spouse?
I don't have a girlfriend anymore. Working on it. We'll say the issue I've found a little bit is honesty. And most of them look at me as an ATM. But I think eventually that will happen. It's just going to take
I
time.
hope so, yeah. And what about Dominican friends?
Tons of Dominican friends, had them, a lot of them for up to 9 years, where I live currently in a Dominican neighborhood. Most of them I consider family.
Yeah. And has it been easy or hard adjusting to their culture?
Little of both. I don't mind situations like this. Like, a lot of people want to be in gated communities in Sosua, things like that. I love being in this neighborhood. So it hasn't been that difficult for me. I mean, obviously learning the language more. They have some situations of late dinners and that I don't do. But in general, if you're a reasonable person willing to adapt, I don't think it's that difficult.
So, assuming there's some, which cultural differences would you say you can't adjust to or don't want to adjust to because you just like the American way better?
I guess, and even in America we have this, but in the Dominican neighborhood I live in, typically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you'll have multiple neighbors with their stereos cranked so loud your bed's almost vibrating. And a lot of them don't care if they are doing that till 2 in the morning, because that's what they want to do. So you either learn to adjust, or you get to know the neighbor and say, hey, could you bring it down a little bit? I would say most of them in general are willing. You can call the police. There is actually a noise ordinance here, and they'll come shut it down. But I try not to ruffle the feathers. I'd rather be friendly with them and just say, hey, I'm trying to sleep. So that one can get a little annoying. Dominicans typically are very loud. They talk over each other. It almost sounds like they're fighting, but they're actually having fun. That kind of drives me bonkers, because I'm not used to that. If someone's talking, I usually wait, and then I'll throw out my question or say what I'm going to say.
Ping pong.
With them, you literally have to jump in and just start talking over them to be heard. It's just part of their culture. They'll have 4 or 5 people going back and forth at each other, and they don't care.
Well, the same, I suppose, in a ferreteria, which is a hardware store. If there's 6 people standing there and some chap comes walking in, he'll just start yelling out what he needs or wants straight
Or they'll
away.
just walk in front, and that does bug the hell out of me. I'll do it down at the Kamado. Some of the ladies will come shopping, and I'll be the nice guy, and you can go first. And then one of the Dominican males will cut right in front of me because he wants to get something. I'm like, tu espere. And I'll just look at him and say, you're going to wait. You're not cutting in front of me. I won't tolerate it. I'll be nice until I don't want to be nice anymore.
Fair enough. It's all about respect.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you say there's some nationalities that find it harder to adjust to the Dominican culture than others?
Yes, in general. First of all, people that don't want to adjust, they want to come here because they love the climate, and they just want to be in their little
Bubble,
their little gated community, and bring all their American, Canadian, German, whatever it is the community is, and keep everything Dominican out of that area. They don't want to adjust. Spanish culture, yes, they're going to adjust quicker and be more flexible. Slight differences, but they're already part of that culture.
So by behaving like that, where they don't want to let anybody in from the Dominican culture, what do they lose out on, in your opinion?
I think they lose out on the beauty of the island. I mean, I love my Dominican friends. I love what I see out here. I love the way they do their family thing. I'm here single, solo, no kids. But it's fun to me to watch all the family interactions and how the kids are all loved and just all of that. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in other cultures, but I think you're missing out on that island culture here on how they do things. My opinion. Canadians seem to adapt reasonably well. Some Americans, Germans, I think, personality-wise, might be a little contrary and kind of stay in their lane. Again, just an opinion.
And the other thing, what do you find about the forgivingness? Like, if they have an issue on a Monday, Tuesday they're back again being friends.
Depending on the issue,
Yeah.
I won't throw out names, but I know two brothers that are no longer speaking at all.
But that's a very foreign
Yes,
thing, you know.
doesn't happen often.
Families are very separated in many countries, and things have broken things apart.
Yes.
Different situations where I have heard in another interview from a Dominican guy from the beach, he was saying that they'll fight on a Monday and then they cry and make up on a Tuesday and they're drinking.
Yeah, or even Monday night,
Yeah.
they'll be back drinking beers, and so yes, in general, they're very forgiving people. They're very emotional,
Yeah.
and that's where you hear the yelling and the fun, and you think they're fighting, and they're not really fighting, and
Yeah.
they will have a fight, and then they'll sort it out, and they'll be drinking beers and hugging each other and crying it out. I think it's a beautiful culture, and I love this island.
Fantastic. Robert, thank you so much, and just give yourself a shout out. So you have a MLS service,
Yes.
and that's for all types of listings on the North Coast.
We have basically every listing on the island under one website, so it makes it easier for clients looking to purchase, and we're actually even starting to move into the rental aspect. But instead of having to go to 5 different sites, you can go to one site
Yeah.
and reach out.
Yeah, great. And then there's also your
Gringo
car rental,
rentals.
Gringo car rentals. If
Yep.
anybody watching this needs a car when you come down here, this is your man. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay, good stuff. All right, thank you so much again. Great words.
Thank you.
Cheers.
We have to reduce our expectations, and if we do that, we can spend a wonderful life. But if not, we will,
Go crazy.
yeah.
So I'm here with a 2-year expat, is it? You've been here for 2 years, Ravi. What's been the most difficult thing about moving here and settling into the culture?
Only the roads are little narrow to pass by, like by Sosua and Cabarete.
Yeah.
That's the only problem we are facing.
Okay, so just the insane traffic.
Traffic, yeah.
Yeah. And what about the culture? What's been the hardest thing adjusting to the Dominican culture itself?
I don't see any hardest thing here. Culture is nice and nice people are here. I deal with that.
And your Spanish, how's that?
Yeah, Spanish is a little bit harder, but I have to learn from that.
You learn. Have you taken a Spanish course?
No, I'm going to.
You're like me. You
Yeah.
learn in the streets.
Yeah.
Way to go. And what's the best thing about being in Dominican Republic?
People are very nice and polite. I like those people.
Yeah.
I love them.
So would they be similar to people in Sri Lanka in terms of culture?
Yeah, culture-wise similar, but the people are there everywhere, good people, bad people. But here I see so many good people, friendly people.
I know Dominicans are very family-oriented, well-connected. Big families. A lot of family members seem to get on, where in many westernized countries they seem a lot more separated. So in Sri Lanka, are families like big and like well-connected?
Yes, same. Yeah.
Same as Dominican
Yes,
Republic.
that's right.
Well, so this is like a hand in a glove for you to come here. That fits
That's
fits
right.
nicely. Very good. Well, thank you so much for your comments, and keep enjoying paradise.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Well, just in case some of you are curious what I, as the guy with the channel here, thinks of the culture and how hard or easy it is to adjust to it, well, It's a mixed bag, actually. I'll give you my take on it, but I want to start with the positives first, because that is the most important, and that's the reason why I've loved this country for many years. So let's start with Dominicans are generally very, very friendly and very helpful, and I like that aspect of them. I saw them in resorts when I first came to this country, pick up other people's children and give them a smooch, and just the way they were big-hearted and warm towards other people and other people's children especially, it showed me something straight away about their culture, that it wasn't this cold, nervous, suspicious type mentality of many folks in westernized countries. So I like that straight away. The helpfulness, well, a lot will help without expecting any money, and others will expect a little bit, but the fact that you can get help is very, very cool. If I break down my motorbike or run out of petrol 2 kilometers from a petrol station, it's just a matter of seconds to minutes before somebody's going to pull over and say, do you need to get a push, or what's the problem? And then, yeah, they're always happy to push you at least for 25 to 50 pesos to the next gasoline station. You can't find that overseas in most countries, so that's a big bonus. I'm just going from notes here. The next one is family units are close. I mean, people are so separated today, and governments have done a real good job out of dividing people, separating the family unit, but not down here. Here, they know how to stick together. If they have an issue, they debate it out, and they resolve it, and they move on. Where overseas, there's a lot of mind games. People get very insulted over small little things, and a lot of this propaganda on the television divides people even further. So families overseas are very divided, but not here in Dominican Republic. And that's why even police were quitting during the convict scam, because they didn't want to force tyranny on each other's families. So that's a big bonus about this country as far as I'm concerned. The next one is higher self-esteem than in many other countries. They are generally laughing, happy people who give each other a bit of stick, and they love to crack jokes and be very humorous. And that's easy and nice to be around. I don't always understand what they are going on about because they speak very fast, but I can see they're smiling from ear hole to ear hole and having a good time. Just a nice vibe. The other thing I really value about Dominicans is they love their freedoms. They're not so politically correct. But that's also because it's not a highly regulated country. I know there's probably government people who want it to be that way. But Dominicans, if you see them at a light that's been placed out in the countryside, just going through that red light, what they're really saying is, this is stupid. Even a cow out here would feel lonely, and you put a traffic light here? No, you're holding up my day, so they go through it anyway, as long as there's nobody in the way. And I respect that. I'm a bit rebellious myself in that way, because it has to be logical and reasonable, otherwise it's probably stupid and unnecessary. So not everybody likes that, but I do. If it's the Wild West, maybe there's a cowboy in me. Dominicans are also very sharing. They will share whatever they have, even if they don't have a lot. Go to Western countries, quite often they wouldn't give you an extra litre of petrol or gallon of petrol if you needed it, but here they do. If you come to visit, they always want to offer you something. That warm-hearted mentality goes a long way as far as I'm concerned. So if somebody asks me, how well, Mr. T, have you adjusted to the culture? Well, let me put it this way. The word culture is cultivation. I will adjust to the things that make sense, that are logical, reasonable, fair, mature, and professional. And there's a lot of those in what I just rattled off about the positives. Absolutely. And, I've probably become more sharing by watching what Dominicans do. I've probably become more humorous by being around their nice, humorous personalities. But I'm not going to lower my standards if I see something immature. So I'm just going to go through a list of what, and there may be some Dominicans watching this, what they could improve on that would make me adjust to the culture easier if it was happening, but often it's not. Things like communication. You know, I like it to be ping pong. I don't care what country you're from. You know, if I send you a message, just reply. Even if it's, sorry, I don't have time right now, let me get back to you later. Ping pong communication. And in most cases down here, they haven't got their socks pulled up high enough on that one. Punctuality and reliability means a lot to me. So if somebody's not punctual or reliable, and people say, well, you should adjust to the culture, you're in their country. No. If they come to America or Canada, they're not going to like all the cultural traits there if they don't make sense. Why should I become non-punctual and non-reliable if that's the general cultural trait? And you hear it from a lot of people down here. You know, I had them booked in at 2, they didn't turn up till 4, or they didn't turn up till the next day. You know, who needs to pull their socks up? They do. To me, friendships have to be earned, and they're earned through respect, and they're earned through walking the talk. If I promise people I'm going to pay you 2 o'clock on Tuesday, you can take it to the bank. If there's one thing I would like Dominicans to pull their socks up on in general, because some are very good at it, but most are not, that's, you know, say what you mean what you say, turn up when you promised. So deliver what you promise and I'll respect you. Respect is earned. It's not something that should just fall in your lap. Another thing I probably find hard to adjust to is if I walk into a bank, an office, a shop, and I was number 2 in the queue, and then some person walks in and just starts, blah, 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 Luis, dame esa, give me this, give me that. Do you have any of these, any of those? Whoa, 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 amigo, wait your turn. I don't want to lower my standards, even if I'm from another country, to this guy, let's say his name is Jose, to his low level of rudeness just to fit into a country. No, I will bring my overseas standards with me if that's what it is. I'll bring my professional standards with me, and I'll challenge him and say, wait your turn. If it was the other way around, do you want me to come in and jump in front of you? Didn't think so. Respect, buddy. Yeah, I'll put my boundaries in place. It doesn't say I'm a doormat on my forehead, does it? Another thing I suppose that can get up my nose is if Dominicans don't respect my privacy and they blabber it out in public. Let's say you live in a place called Palm Cove, just to make up a name, and then they yell out, oh, how's it going up in Palm Cove? Well, I didn't want Jose to blabber that out in public, or my phone number, or hand that to people, or say anything else about my private life. When you're a foreigner down here, you got to be careful. There's a lot of people that got themselves into too much trouble by loosing lips too much. So you got to be able to keep your privacy until you're ready to pass that on to people, and then tell them everything that you've seen, everything that we've talked about here is private. Don't blabber it off to other people. Thank you. Because there's haves and have-nots down here, and the have-nots wants what the haves have. So be careful on that one. And I'm not going to lower my standard to somebody else's wishes of, well, you should be open about everything. No, that's not the world we live in. Maybe that's the world you live in. I always find that those who have nothing to lose are the most rude when it comes to privacy. If they try to have a lotto, if they won lotto or something, holy shit would they find it challenging straight away if they blabbered out everything about their life, because all the mooches come running straight away. And that's what I don't want. And to follow up on that one, there are a lot of Dominicans, unfortunately, that will think because you have and I don't, then suddenly I should pay for that lunch, or I should be the one that should be generous in different situations. No, I didn't fall on top of the mountain if I have something, so don't see me as a walking ATM. Just because I've worked my ass off and may be smart and hard and skillfully at something to save some money, it doesn't make me automatically the social welfare department of your life. And if that's a cultural trait, I ain't buying it. I will stick with my beliefs on that one, and then they have to learn when it's their turn how to respect that. Another thing I might find hard to adjust to is if somebody believes they can just interrupt a meeting rudely, because it is rude. If I'm in a meeting with somebody, they better be tactful about it and say, "Excuse me, Mr. T, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Do you mind if I just ask, because I got to race off to Cabaretta in a hurry?" And then I say, "Okay, yeah, one question. How can I help you?" If they did it that way, okay, it's more respectful. But just to come in and, "Hey, Mr. T, blah, 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 blah," like a 6-year-old at the kindergarten. And a lot of Dominicans that are adults act like little kindergarten people in that way. Not all. Some are very professional and aware and mature, but a lot of them are not. And if people say, "Oh, well, you should adjust to their culture." Well, I don't want to adjust to kindergarten behavior. Sorry, ain't going to happen. And when it comes to them saying, "Well, you're in our country," well, respect what we bring as foreigners. You want us to bring money, you want us to bring investments, you want us to be part of fixing this, improving this infrastructure and so on. So there should be some respect for that. And if they do something great, I'll respect it. It's a ping-pong deal. It's not a cultural thing as far as I'm concerned. If they come to America or come to Australia or anywhere else and they bring something good with them, that should be respected. Another thing I see that people say, well, that's their culture, is if you go into restaurants and there's bad service. No, again, that's kindergarten stuff. They haven't learnt good service. Why should foreigners adjust themselves to a kindergarten type behavior? No, good service is good service. And if they live in New York and walk in and get shitty service somewhere, it's the fault of that waitress. Doesn't matter whether you're Puerto Rican, Australian, Dominican. If you walk into a restaurant, you've chosen that restaurant over all of the other restaurants in town, so you deserve good, fast, efficient, friendly service. And if you're not getting it, it's the fault of the restaurant, not the buyer. So I'm not going to adjust to anybody who says, "Well, that's the culture here." Well, no, sorry, I ain't buying it. Then I bring something they can learn from with me. And the most common thing that not only myself but many foreigners find hard to adjust to is the loud music. But what I've found is, like, I'm recording right now in a very quiet place. You find the quiet places, you just choose not to go there. I will leave a restaurant if they won't turn the music down, because if I'm the customer, I should be the king. If I say, "Could you just please turn the music down? We're trying to have a conversation here." And I can even hardly hear myself, let alone the guy across the table here. If they don't turn it down, la cuenta, por favor. I'm out of there and I won't be back. So feed their ego or feed their pocket. That's the choice. Am I going to adjust to culture that forces me to get my eardrums blown out? No. I bring my standards with me, and I will always stand strong on that one. While we're on the noise factor, I like respect, and I bet you do too. If I live in a neighborhood and they want to have a party on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, okay, go for it, play your loud music. But don't do it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or if it's a person who runs an Airbnb, to book a group in a villa area, in a neighborhood with children that have to get up to school, folks that have to get up to work the next day, and then treat that area like a freaking disco district. That's called disrespect, and I come at them hard if they try to do that. And they can say, "Well, that's the culture." Well, that stinks as far as I'm concerned. Now meet my culture, which is not culture, it's just a standard, which is be respectful. Don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to yourself. It's very simple. Another Dominican trait I've seen amongst the workforce is they want to come across like they know it best. But what they underestimate, I believe, is the skill that foreigners bring with them. It's some of the smartest, skillful people that actually decide to uproot themselves and travel to another country because they want an even better life than what they had. And a lot of them bring a lot of money with them, which they made through being very skillful at all sorts of things. So if there's any Dominicans watching this, you have an opportunity to pick the brains of some of the most skillful constructors, electricians, plumbers, internet people, etc., because they've had to go through all sorts of courses and graduation processes to get the skill sets that they have. So before you try to outperform people, have a little listen to what the foreigners have to say. It's not a cultural insult. No, they come with skills. How do countries advance? By picking brains of those who are even smarter. Take everything you can get from the foreigners that come down here. Apply the things that make sense. If they know things from construction, how it can be done with different materials or smarter, faster, there are some very advanced processes out there, whether it's plastics or construction or roof laying or whatever. You know, pick their brains. Don't feed your ego. Feed your pocket. And I suppose the last one I can mention about the things I find hard to adjust to would be in workplaces, a foreigner will start a business up and they will even give incentives to staff. If you help me grow the business in this way and that way and so forth, there's going to be both bonuses and promotions. But it's the goose and the egg story, you know, the goose that lays the golden eggs. Many staff here don't give a shit, excuse my French, about the golden eggs. They want to carve the goose. And I've seen them screw up the very guy or lady or couple who started the business, who gave them a job. And then because they don't get their greedy gains as fast as they want out of that whole equation, working for this foreigner, they will screw up their business in some kind of way. Or they just go totally lazy and they let the customers down. That's a very hard one for me to swallow, that one. And that's where I believe they've got to learn when it's their turn and pull their socks up and see it through more entrepreneurial eyes, that somebody's trying to grow a business here, and if we get it to succeed, we can all have long-term employment with bonuses, etc. So a more mature view is needed on that one, I believe, down here. But that was on the realistic side. It's not negative, it's realistic. It is what it is. And there's many, as you heard, on the positive side as well. But in general, if you come down here to live, you can distance yourself from the noise and other things that you don't like. Get involved with the Dominicans who are great, professional, good and kind-hearted, and enjoy your life here. Absolutely. That's why I'm still here. Alright folks, that wraps it up for this time. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed the content. Now if you need guidance for your trip down here, or you're thinking of relocating, you can also hire me for consulting services. Simply just write to my email address info@educatedtraveler.info and I'll be happy to send you my price plan. Also check out my online information service called Info Hub, where for a very low fee you can join and access lots of useful information as well as vetted quality contacts for the North Coast. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy travels. Bye bye. Ich want service now! Was ist this for a place?